Alright, so greetings once again from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We were just over at the Daniel Lady Farm. Now we're up here at Culps Hill. I got an observation tower. I will probably be going up there. Of course, you know how I feel about heights sometimes. We'll try to get to the top of that one. Yeah, Culps Hill is sometimes an overlooked area here in Gettysburg on the battlefield. I know I have never been here, but this was an extremely strategic location. Similar to like Little Round Top and other spots. You know, the high ground back then was always strategic, not just for being able to view the battlefield, but for like cannon fire and things like that. But you don't hear a whole lot about Culps Hill. You always hear about a lot of the other areas, like I said, Little Round Top, Devil's Den, places called like the Peach Orchard, and places like that you hear a lot about, but not so much about Culps Hill. Yeah, so there is the observation tower. We'll try to get up there in a little bit. So as with all strategic locations, you know, a lot happened here. A lot of death occurred here. You know, a lot of strategic military moves were happening here because both sides were desperate. Well, the Union was desperately trying to hold on to this location, and the Confederates were desperately trying to take it. If the Confederates would have taken this location, it would have changed the tide of the battle remarkably. But that didn't happen, though. In the end, it almost did, though. The Confederates almost took this hill. We might talk a little bit about that, but I mean, also here talk about some of the haunted history of this place, because whenever you have a place like this where so much death occurred, there tends to be a lot of haunting activity going on too. You know, depending on your perspective about those things. But like I said, you know, when I talk about haunted places in the past, I'm not always here for the hauntings. I'm not doing a paranormal investigation of this place. I'm here for more of the history. Whenever you have a haunted location, whether you believe in hauntings or not, it's usually a location where a lot of history happened. And that's my interest too. I love the history of these places. I like the stories too. The haunting stories can be kind of cool, whether you believe them or not. Yeah, I keep looking at that tower. We'll have to try and make it up there. We might walk around a little bit up the hill too. Talk a little about what happened here. Alright, let's see if we can actually do this. That's a tall one. At least from my perspective it is. There should be some awesome views up there if we do make it to the top. It's fall, the colors are starting to change. Oh boy. Alright, so 3 more flights up. I'm starting to feel it. But these steps are sturdy. They don't move when you step on them. And you can't see through them either. They don't have like those wire mesh steps. But I'm definitely feeling my nerves here. Okay, we're starting to get some views. Sorry if I'm breathing a little heavy. Don't really like it up here. I'm sure the views will be worth it, but alright, let me turn you off. And I take it back. I still have 3 more flights of steps. Miscounted there. Alright. Just stare at the steps. Don't look to the sides. Alright, this is supposed to be a haunting video. History video, not a video of my fear of heights, but such it is. Alright, almost there.
Yeah. What? Yes, that's a squirrel. A squirrel in the tree. Right there. Daddy, look. Yeah. A squirrel in the tree.
Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, so beautiful views up here. Out there's Gettysburg itself. Wow. I think that's a little round top out there. Alright, so I made it down. Just talking to some of the people on the way up. That one lady in orange is afraid of heights too. She's struggling a little bit, but let's take this. I found a little trail here. A little faint trail. Let's go off. Get a little more privacy back here to talk. But yeah, I'm starting to sweat a little bit coming down that. Going up is definitely a lot easier than coming down for me. But the view is worth it up there. Yeah, I mean, it's so, we're just walking down this peaceful woods right now, but man, during the battle, this would have been, an awful place to be. There would have been trenches, you know, men hiding in those trenches, and dead bodies everywhere. I mean, one account says that you could hardly walk several feet without stepping on a dead soldier. There's just so much death up here. Yeah, wow. But now it's kind of hard to imagine it like that now. It was also a confusing place to fight because of all the smoke, not just from the cannon fire, but all the musket fire going on up here. They're just shooting almost non-stop. You know, they were going, you know, there's accounts of soldiers going through 200 rounds of ammunition up here. I mean, that's a lot. Now, in today's terms, it seemed like much, but you can remember a lot of them were firing muskets back then, so you had to reload every time you shot off. It's not like today's modern, you know, rifles and stuff like that. But yeah, so you couldn't really see what was going on sometimes until the last minute, when, you know, soldiers would appear coming up from down at the bottom of the hill. So yeah, it was wow. And like I said, this point was almost lost on one day. I think was it the second day? Forget exactly, but the one Union general called for a bunch of the men here to reinforce. I think it was over near Little Round Top, which was also a strategic point, but that left this place not as well defended, and they almost lost this hill because of that. But the Confederates didn't realize that a lot of the troops had left to reinforce another location. If they had, then they would have maybe, you know, put a larger assault on this location at that time. But yeah, if the Confederates would have overrun this position, the battle most likely would have been over. I know one account says that they were pressing forward and they found these abandoned trenches that the Union soldiers had left behind, the ones that had gone to reinforce the other part of the battle. They didn't quite know what happened at first. They probably could have taken advantage of that, but it was kind of confusing. Like I said, there was so much going on, so much smoke from the battle. But then a little bit later that day, the Union troops came back and found the Confederates in their trenches and had to fight for those trenches all over again. So yeah, it's just a mad scene up here. And all the trees were, the lower trunks were all denuded of bark from all the bullets and stuff. Wow, would have been just a crazy, like I said, now it's so peaceful, but back then, yeah, not so much. You're just to walk along this trail a bit, you can see all these little rock formations. That's a neat little place to hide. More rocks. I mean, this is facing out towards where the Confederates were. They were out that way, trying to come up this hill. So you can imagine, you know, Union soldiers hiding behind these rocks, or maybe being back in there. Yeah, you could kind of hide back in there and kind of rest your musket on this rock right here and fire down the hillside. And I'm just sitting there realizing that's very easily what could have happened right here. It's a convenient little place to have your stuff and just kind of crouch down. Like I said, have your musket laying there. Especially if you're like a sharpshooter or something, and just fire on down towards the Confederate lines down that way. So in some aspects, the hauntings of this place are very similar to other locations, especially here on the battlefield. You know, some people just say they get a creepy feeling by being here, or they hear EVPs, those voices, electronic voices coming from the dead. Other people just say they see soldiers roaming around in the forest with the smell of campfire. A lot of the more typical haunting stories that you hear, but the one that's a little bit more interesting and disturbing in some ways is people claim that they smell vanilla, the scent of vanilla and peppermint here. You might say, well, why does that sound creepy? You know, vanilla and peppermint, most people think smell good, and they do smell good. But they were used for a particular reason during times like this in the Civil War. It was used to cover up the smell of rotting flesh. You know, this battle was fought in July. It was hot. They were dead. You were surrounded by dead bodies, so which would start to smell after a while, which is awful. But that's the way it was. So scents like peppermint and vanilla were used just to kind of mask those scents. Just drop my stuff there. So yeah, it's kind of it's a nice smell, but when you understand what it's being used for, it kind of has a little bit of a dark side to it. I'm not smelling any peppermint or vanilla right now, though. But interesting. And if you're wondering what I feel, I don't really feel anything here. I usually don't at these haunted locations. Like I said, I have mixed feelings about the actual truth of a lot of the hauntings. I enjoy the history of them though. But it's kind of hard to picture. It's like a beautiful forest now. It's kind of hard to picture what it would look like back then, or what it would smell like or feel like back then. But anyway, I'm gonna walk back up the hill. Maybe we'll take a look at, there's some cannons up there and some other monuments. Maybe we'll walk around a little bit more before we head to the next location. Just drop my notebook again. All right. Yeah, but right now it's just peaceful. I got a few blue jays screaming at me. Birds. All right, let's get back up the hill. And I'm still gonna hold to my theory that a Union soldier once tapped this spot, or maybe several of them. Like I said, that makes a perfect little spot to kind of hide in, and then, like I said, just to kind of crouch down and rest your musket right there, because it looks straight down the hill towards where the enemy line was coming up. All right, that's my theory. I'm sticking to it. All right, let's head back up the hill. There's the Tower of Fear again. It's a cool tower though. Definitely some awesome views. You hear they have some of the cannon. Yeah, I just love the old cannons. Because a lot of them are most likely reproductions, but they're still pretty cool. They do have other trails up here that you can hike. Yeah, so there are trails and monuments all throughout the woods down here. If you've ever been to Gettysburg, there's monuments everywhere telling you where all the different brigades and regiments were. Different pieces of history. There's almost too many to film them. But down here, apparently you can see a lot of the breastworks that the men built for the trenches and stuff. Not all of them are original. The one sign said that they rebuilt a lot of them in the 1880s. But I'm sure if you get further away from the trail system, you'll find some more original stuff. But they do ask that you stay on the trails. All right, but yeah, sobering place. Yeah, so like I said, this is my first time here at Culps Hill. I never really remember reading a whole lot about it or hearing much about it, and I think that's the way it is. Like I said at the beginning of the video, you hear a lot about the more popular spots like Little Round Top and Devil's Den, you know, Pickett's Charge, places like that. But this is a cool spot too. Well, cool history-wise, not necessarily what happened here, but yeah. So if you come to Gettysburg, check this place out too. If you're into hauntings, come check it out as well. All right, we're gonna head to the next location. I think we're gonna do a video on Jenny Wade next. At least we're gonna try. All right, as always, thanks for coming along. Hopefully I'll see you on the next video here in Gettysburg.